Steering wheel came off. That's how much power this thing's got.
All right, so I just got home from work and I'm dying to see if these brakes work. Need to get some power steering put in this thing, get it spun around, and then I'm gonna try and see if this thing will drive and stop. Most importantly, stop. Like I mentioned in the last update video, I'd gone and bled the brakes as much as I could. There's no air in the system at all, but I just have kind of a spongy pedal feel. See, I can push the pedal, see, and it feels even worse today. So, I don't know. Like, I can feel that there's pressure, but I mean, I can push it all the way to the floor. So, I don't know. We'll see how they act. All right, so what you guys saw me doing there was bleeding the power steering system. It's a really good thing to do. A lot of people, I think, just put power steering, especially when the system's completely drained like mine. There wasn't any fluid in it at all. Most people will probably just pour fluid in there and then fire it up. And that can cause cavitation of the fluid and run the pump really low on fluid for the first little bit and cause a lot of damage. So basically what you do is just fill it up and then run the steering back and forth, and when you get to the lock, just hold it there for a second because there will be bubbles popping up, and wait for the bubbles to stop. Go the other direction and just do that until there's no more air bubbles. All right, so power steering is topped off. Now I just need to clean this truck off of all the tools and parts that have collected on it over the last few weeks so that I can go drive this thing. Yeah, Rox, you ready? You ready? You ready? Yeah, there's not a seat for you. All right, so it's actually been a few days since that last clip, and now it's the weekend, so just running a few errands, getting a few last things that I need to button up on the S10 so that we can go drive it. So, gotta go to the hardware store, get a couple metric bolts, and then I need one like push to connect fitting for one of the boost lines, and then I'm gonna run out to Speedway Motors and grab just kind of a basic little 3-gauge kit so that I have some gauges, monitor like the oil pressure and water temp and voltage, all that kind of good stuff. So we'll get these errands ran and then get the truck all buttoned up, and we should be driving it. So I'm excited. I can't wait. I can hear the ice cream man. Don't know where he's at, but I could really use one of those right now. It's supposed to be 109 today. probably should have upgraded to the copper line instead of this plastic stuff, but I think since I'm only using it short term, this plastic will be okay. This stuff, if you have it in your vehicle for a very long time, it tends to get really brittle and it will break, and then you'll just have a mess, an oil leak. You'll have basically oil pressure running inside your cap wherever your gauges are at and have a massive oil leak. So I always like to upgrade this to the copper tubing because it's just more durable and more it's longer lasting. So, but for a temporary gauge setup, this should be just fine. So in order to mount these gauges, see, I've already got my air fuel kind of just set here temporarily. I'm going to take some of this leftover aluminum flat strap that I've got and just build a little, just bend a little piece of it to make a platform for them to sit on right here. So they're in view, easy to see. I've got my air fuel ratio gauge sitting here temporarily too. But like I said, eventually I'll go through and finalize this stuff, but I just want to get this truck running and driving. That's the main goal in this video. Alright, so putting these gauges in, for the water temp sensor I had to use the port on the head on that side. I've got like a factory style temp sensor back here for the MSD, and then up here, so that leaves me with this plug in the head up here, which is normally where the stock temp sensor is. The kit came with an adapter, but it didn't come with the right one. It came with like a really big pipe thread one. I think that's like 1/2 inch pipe thread. And then it also came with like a, I don't know, even bigger than that. That's like 3/4 inch pipe thread or something. But none of those are gonna work in the LS because it's like a straight thread. I think it's like 16 millimeter, 16 by 1.5 straight thread. So I gotta go to the hardware store and try and figure out an adapter for that. Got the oil pressure line in right there. Got that all plumbed in. And ran inside here. I was gonna make a little bracket out of that aluminum, but I decided that it was easier you just screw it right down to the column brace right there. So those gauges are in there. Gauges are in here mounted. Oil pressure's hooked up. I got to figure out the water temp adapter, and then I still got to wire up the volt gauge. Don't mind this. This is all gonna get cleaned up. It's a mess right now, but I'm just trying to kind of get things all figured out, and then I'll tidy it up later. All right, was unable to find any kind of adapter to make this work, at least for today. So probably just gonna have to do it without knowing the water temp, which isn't a big deal because I'm not gonna run it for that long. I'm just gonna try and get it out on the street, make it go drive, reverse, make sure the brakes work. I mean, I'm not going on any kind of road trips with it right now, so should be all right for now. Well, the S10 is not going to be running and driving today. It's going to be in this video, but it's not going to be today because out of nowhere, this fitting into the car just started leaking. I was testing some wiring, making sure my fuel pump and all that worked again on the switch. And I noticed that this was dripping fuel. I tried to tighten it, but you can't get a wrench in there. You can't get a wrench in there to tighten it where it's at. And I started messing with the fuel line, and I was trying to take the fuel line fitting off and noticed that it was like real stiff. And I don't know if you can see this, but like this fitting is all bent and distorted, possibly from over tightening it, or I don't know what, but I just noticed that. So I need a new fitting here, I need a new fitting there, and it's like 5 o'clock, maybe later. Yeah, it's almost 5 o'clock on Saturday, so I'm not gonna be able to get fittings today for it. So I'm just gonna finish up doing some wiring, I guess, until, I don't know, it'll probably have to be Monday before I can get any new fittings for it. But I'll give you guys a little update of what I've finished. Got tack mounted. These all mounted up. Besides the water gauge, it's not working. So everything turns on. Works. Got voltage. I can't believe I just did that. I just turned the fuel pump on with the fuel line off of the regulator. Alright, so after last night's debacle, you know, it's kind of funny how perfect timing, but I just went inside after, you know, finding all those fuel leaks and just basically giving up for the night. And I checked, and a fellow YouTuber had left a comment on my last video, and his name's Dane. His channel's called Burn Down, but basically what he said was, you know, you gotta take things as they come and do one thing at a time, not try and overlook the whole thing at once. But at the end of his comment, he said, Goonies never say die. And so that really got me, you know, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna go out there and get this thing fixed. So I came out, I actually found another fitting, so I replaced that and made a new fuel line. I put some thread sealant on the threads of those fittings. I basically put some of this on the thread of those fittings because no matter what I did, it was like if they were too loose, they leaked. If they were too tight, it would start pushing that nylon seal out. And so I just put some of that thread sealant on there, and it seemed to do the trick. So I ended up taking the carburetor off so that I could get to this back fitting right here. And for whatever reason, they keep leaking. Had to remake this hose, which I kind of like that better. I don't know, there's more slack in it. So if I can actually unbolt the carburetor and kind of lift it off if I need to. But carburetor's still unbolted. I got to finish putting that back on. But let's just see if these fuel leaks are fixed, or if I'm gonna just give up right now. And now it should turn on. No leaks. That's good. Now, the only other problem I'm having now is, for some reason, when I turn the ignition off, it's like delayed. Never did that before, so I don't know if there's like power back feeding or something, but I gotta figure that out. That started yesterday when I put that switch panel in. Before, when it was on the key, before I switched out the column, and it was on the actual ignition key, it never did that. So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll just run it and watch it for now. All right. truth. I wonder if I should do a little brake test before I put it in gear. Brakes seem to be working, at least from a roll, so hopefully they work with the engine running. So if I can figure out where this goes. Okay, get this kind of tied it up. It's not hooked to anything yet. Okay. See, that's park. Whew. I'm nervous. All right, here we go. The neutral safety switch is messed up on this shifter. Probably going to replace this shifter because it's pretty clapped out. I'm going to turn down the idle.
power this thing's got. Woo. She's peppy. Damn. Nothing to see here, just a race truck. Like I said, I don't know what the water temp is, so I don't want to go too crazy. Some smoke coming off the engine. Gear. Trans works. They're probably like, what the hell? Well, got a bunch of smoke coming off the wrap, but I don't think it's too bad. It's not too hot, it's not pushing water out, so it didn't overheat. I mean, she got warmed, but it's definitely not overheating. But yeah, just all the oils, paint, everything baking off the headers. Oh, this is so awesome. Oh man, I drove the S10, guys. I drove the S10, went through all gears, first, second, third, everything. Man, I gotta work on the brakes though. It stops, but I mean, it's all the way to the floor almost before it stops. But man, hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, guys, it has been a long, hard fight to get this truck running and driving. And I'm beyond ecstatic over this. Freaking trans works. That was a gamble. Bought that used off of OfferUp. Freaking steering works. The brakes kind of work. I did find a power steering leak that I got to address. And my master kill switch doesn't seem to work. It doesn't shut the engine off while it's running. So I got to look at that, figure out what I might have put the alternator cable on the wrong side of the switch. I don't know. It shouldn't really matter, but I have to figure out why that's not working, fix the power steering leak. I wasn't really watching the air-fuel ratio a whole lot while I was driving. I was mainly making sure it wasn't going to catch on fire. But at idle, it was around 14-1, so that's pretty good. I mean, that carb's right out of the box. I haven't touched anything on it yet, but it was freaking peppy. In first gear, when I give it just like barely any throttle, that thing took off. Saw it rip the steering wheel right out of my hands. But yeah, a few things button up before it's like ready to go. But man, that is just huge. I mean, getting it running was one thing. Now it runs and drives. I just got to figure out the brakes. But man, we're on our way. So hopefully this thing's gonna go to a track here pretty soon. But until that happens, keep on watching, keep subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.